Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name's Antony. In today's video, we're going to talk about 10 different designers and where they studied and how they interconnect with each other. Now, when I was doing research for this video, I actually found it really interesting about where people actually studied to design. And I think it's quite interesting because not everyone had formal training, yet some of these have become, well, actually all of the designers in this list have become international renowned designer houses. So it just goes to show that you don't necessarily need university or formal training to become a success in fashion. However, if you do want to go to university to study fashion, I've got a video all about the top 5 universities in the whole world. So go and click the link here to go and check that out. And before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help my channel to grow, especially that like button. You have no idea how much it helps promote my video and boost it with the YouTube's algorithm. Alright, okay, so let's just get started and let's talk about the different fashion designers and where they studied. So I'm going to kick it off with Calvin Klein. Now, Calvin Klein attended the world famous Fashion Institute of Technology, which is based in New York. Now, he learned a lot of skills there, and that's where eventually he decided to start his own brand. And then, I don't need to say any more, it became a worldwide success, especially within the fragrance industry and within the underwear industry. I don't actually know many men who don't own a pair of Calvin Klein, so that's saying something. They've absolutely dominated that market. So let's move on to the next one, Christian Dior. Now, this is a really interesting one because he didn't study fashion, he actually studied politics and science. So completely removed. It's just really interesting that you can go down one path and end up at a completely different place that you didn't expect. But yes, so he actually went to university at École de Sciences Politiques. So it kind of already says where it is on the tin, and then later started his own brand. And then in 1947, after the war, after all the restrictions, after everyone was on food stamps and everything, he released the new look, which really set his brand in motion. And then he became one of the most popular designers for this silhouette. Okay, so let's talk about our next one, Coco Chanel. Now, again, this is really interesting because Coco Chanel didn't actually have any formal training. Now, unfortunately, her mother died when she was really young and her father gave her up to an orphanage. Now, this orphanage was run by nuns, which is where she got all of her training in sewing. And even though I think we can all agree that she had a tough start in life, being brought up in an orphanage, she made the best out of a bad situation, took the skills that she learnt there and launched a global brand. Okay, so on to the next one, Pierre Balmain. He studied at the National School of Fine Art, where he studied drawing, pattern making and fashion in general. And I think we all know Balmain because he started another global brand. Pretty much everyone on this list started a global brand, so it's just interesting to see where they started and where they ended up in their lifespan. So the next one is quite interesting, and it's one that I was talking about earlier that interconnects into a few different designers. Now, the person I'm talking about is Karl Lagerfeld. Now, he studied at the Lycee Montaigne Academy in Paris. Upon graduating and seeing how good at drawing he was hired by Pierre Balmain. Not too shabby as your first role straight out of uni. He then worked his way up to be Pierre's personal design assistant, where he learned a lot of the skills of his trade. And eventually he later became the creative director for Coco Chanel. So isn't it interesting that he's worked for 2 major designers and launched his own brand, Karl Lagerfeld. So the next one is cristobal balenciaga. Again, another famous name. Now, he had quite an interesting background in fashion. His mother was a seamstress where he learned a lot of techniques from her, but also he worked as an assistant at age 12 to a tailor. From there, he started designing for Marchioness de Casa Torres, who was a noblewoman in his town. Later, she would then send him to Madrid, Spain for formal training. Okay, on to the next one. Gianni Versace. Now again, Gianni Versace never had any formal training. He learnt a lot of skills from his mother, who was a dressmaker. Now there's a big pattern here where a lot of designers are learning skills from their elders and taking them skills and turning them into worldwide successful brands. They're learning the trade from a young age and then developing their skills as they get older and then turn it into a successful brand from there. After finishing school, he then went to work with his mother in her boutique store where they were making dresses for the ladies around their town. He later then moved to Milan where he designed for several different designers including Valentino, and from there starting his own brand Versace. Obviously, after his untimely death, his sister has now taken over Versace and is the creative director. Okay, so on to the next designer, John Galliano. Now, John Galliano studied fashion design at Central St. Martin's in London. He got a BA in fashion and then released his own brand, Galliano. Okay, so let's talk about another designer who has an interesting history intersecting with different designer, and that is Oscar de la Renta. Now, Oscar studied painting in the academy at San Fernando in Madrid. So again, not really a big history in fashion, but that's how he started with painting. So all of these people are starting in the arts or with family members. After that, he then apprenticed with Cristobal, Balenciaga. See how they're all intertwining a little bit? And after learning the skills of his trade from Balenciaga, he then went on to start his own house, the house of Oscar de la Renta. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, Pierre Cardin. Now, Pierre Cardin is quite a big global brand, actually. Well, all of them are big global brands, but now Pierre Cardin is very licensed. It's a lot more accessible, whereas before it was very high fashion. Now, Pierre Cardin received hands-on training from several different fashion houses. He didn't necessarily go to university to study fashion, but he did study within these fashion houses, learned his trade, and then he moved on early in his career to work for a tailor in Vinci in France. He then moved to Paris, where he worked at a few different fashion houses before starting his own brand, Pierre Cardin. Okay, and last but not least, Jean-Paul Gaultier. So Jean-Paul Gaultier actually had his formal training with Pierre Cardin. He also attended numerous different colleges and universities before starting his own brand, and these were École Communicale, the Collège d'Enseignement, and finally he also attended Lycée Montaigne. So out of everyone, he's had the most formal training, going to 3 different universities and schools, and also apprenticing for notable designer brands. But overall, that's 10 different designers, where they studied and how they got to where they are. If you like this video about the history of designers and where they studied, let me know in the comments section below, because I'd love to know if you would be interested in hearing more in detail about different designers, how they got to where they are, and their career and history. So if you want to know more about that, give this video a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that beautiful red subscribe button. Please also check out my Etsy shop, where you buy cards and vectors to help support you in your everyday design life. Otherwise, I'll see you here every Thursday with a brand new video. Alright, okay, thanks for watching. Alright, bye. Tra tra tra. Bye.